Okay, so welcome to day number 2. Yesterday, the last thing that we worked on was like the cue action. Now what we're doing today with the top spin and the back spin follows on from the cue action. Because everybody thinks, especially with backspin, that you have to hit the ball as hard as possible. And they think that, you know, you have to hit it as hard as possible and you have to jump and move in the air. This is not the case to generate the power. A lot of the power comes from what we call the timing. So it's about the timing in your cue action that gets the reaction on the ball. It's not all about the power. So what I mean by the timing is it's the timing in the cue action. Yesterday, remember when we worked on, when we cue up to the ball, then we pause at the top and then accelerate through. This is where the timing is created. If when you cue, it's just one motion all the time and then hit the ball, then you can't create any power and any timing in this. So for example, you know, here, if we have the black ball, okay? So if we have the black ball and okay, so if we have the black ball and we're going to play a backspin and we're going to screw back to land in the gap, so we land on the black ball. So as I explained yesterday, the most important thing with the cue action at Chinese 8-ball is you can get a lot of spin, but you need to hit the ball softly because the pockets are so tight. If you hit the ball too hard, it makes the pocket play even tighter. And also what is very important is your hand. So you know, yesterday when I was telling everybody that their hand is too close or too far away from the cue ball. This is why when this is so important. If it's too far back, then you can't generate the spin because you're what we call stretching for the cue ball. So you go past the maximum acceleration point. So I set up the shot here, right? So I'm going to play the backspin. I'm going to play the backspin and land the cue ball in the gap for the black. The line is where my finger will be for the backspin. So as you can see, on the line is where my finger will be. This is the hand placement from the cue ball to the hand. And when playing the backspin, especially when you have to be so precise to land the cue ball in an area, the hand placement is so important. If it's too far back, then this makes it almost impossible. Because if it's too far back, you hear, right? What happens is when you get to the cue ball, when you deliver the tip to the cue ball, you see, I've run out of cue. There's no more cue left here, so that the hand hits the chest. Yeah, and the same the other way. If it's too close, then you haven't gone past the maximum. So the maximum acceleration point is here when you strike it, right? If the hand is too close, then you get to it before the maximum acceleration point. So okay, so also when we've landed in this position here, so the 2 ball is my last ball, right? And the black ball is here. So I want to screw back and land, play with backspin and land somewhere here. Sometimes it's much easier to use the cushion first. So when I play this shot with backspin, I'm going to play with the backspin and use the cushion. It's much easier to control the distance than just playing the screw back here without using the cushion. But in order for me to use the cushion means I have to hit it with more power. It means I have to get more backspin, right? Because it has to travel from here to here to here. So rather than travel from here to here, it has to do the double here. So which means I need more spin. But by using the cushion, it is much easier to control the distance of the screw back. So the first shot we will play to screw back to land somewhere here for the 8-ball. And you can see that it comes from the timing. So when I do everything we did yesterday, okay? So we walk into the shot, pick the line, so we hold the tip to the white, pick the line, then do the feathers, pause, and then strike, okay? So this is, we can get a lot of backspin by hitting the ball softly, but also control how far we screw back is the most important thing. So if you see what I do, if I don't put the pause at the top of the backswing and I just go like this and hit, it's almost impossible to control the distance. Okay, so we do the routine we did yesterday, right? Foot on the outside, walk into the shot and hold the tip onto the white to find the line. Then once we've found the line, we start the feathers, then pause on the ball, pause at the top, and then strike. So here I can hit the ball softly, get it to screw back on and off the cushion, and hopefully get it somewhere in the gap to land on the 8 ball. You see, the distance control, I screwed back from here to here to here, and I hit the ball softly. I didn't even move. Now, you know, when I queued up, I didn't move my body out of the way. It was literally just the same strike. Just pause and strike. And the important thing when you're playing the screw shot is after you strike the cue ball, you have to make sure you still deliver the cue. You don't just hit and stop. So as you can see, I strike the cue ball, and after I strike, my tip follows all the way through to here. This means that you finish the delivery of the shot. If I don't push the cue all the way through and just hit the cue ball and stop, then you can't generate the power. This time I will do that. I will hit the cue ball and just stop, and you see what happens. So a cue up here, hit the cue ball, doesn't move. Because when I hit the cue ball, it just stops. Everything moves and jumps, and that is what a lot of people do wrong. So the cue ball was here, and look where my tip finished. So once I strike the cue ball, I go through to there. Deliver the cue and then pull it back so it goes all the way through the cue ball. You know, for example, I use the golf again. When the golfer hits the ball, he doesn't hit the ball here and then stop. He hits the ball here and then finishes the follow through, right? So when I play the screw shot here, and this is my last ball. If I leave the cue ball here, then this is a tough pot to get the cue ball back for the 8 ball. If I leave the cue ball here, it's tough. But if I can get the cue ball here, it makes it like almost unmissable. And even if you're the best potter, like some of the best players, like for example, I don't know, Zhang Yubo is very, very good at potting the balls, but you can't keep potting the balls from here. So when we play this screw shot, we're going to play a screw shot off the cushion here, and we're going to try to get the cue ball as close to the 12 as possible. And this is where you need the distance control. So the first one. Okay. If it's there, it's much easier than when the cue ball is here, right? So the next time I play the screw shot, I leave it here. Each time, I get it in the same place. Now, you don't want to risk overdoing it, because when you overdo it, then you have no shot. So if you overdo it and you're here, then you don't have a shot. So yes, you're better off hitting it a little bit softer. Okay? So we get it somewhere here. There, this one. Yeah. So from there, now to pot the ball and screw back to here, I think I will get it almost every time. But from here, especially in a match, when I'm under pressure, if the score is close, maybe then I will miss it. I'm going to ask each person to come up one at a time, and we're going to play the screw shot and try to control the distance. And I'm gonna set up this shot for each person. So we'll use the line as the guide for the finger, because as I said before, the most important part is that you get your hand in the correct place. So if we use the line as a guide, then you will maybe get a feeling of where the correct place is to put your hand. Okay. Do you want to have a go first? Okay. So we're gonna play the screw shot. He's gonna use the cushion to try and get the cue ball back to somewhere around. Okay. So we're gonna come back. I've set this shot up, so now his fingers should be somewhere near the line. So we do the process that we did yesterday, everything the same, and then make sure we pause at the top of the backswing and then accelerate. That's good. That's good. You see, but the thing was, you know when I said about when he strikes the cue ball and he stops? That's what he did. So it was okay, he paused here, which was good, but then when he hit the cue ball, he stopped. And that is when I said before about when you finish, you have to finish the shot. Yeah, so he has to deliver the cue straight the way through. So exactly the same as he just did, but make sure he pushed the cue all the way through. See? Perfect. Yeah? See the difference that time? He pushed the cue through. The first time, the cue stopped here. Second time, it stopped here, and the difference. And he played this perfect. He's dead straight. Okay? Well done. That's good. We get the next one. Do you want to? Okay? Okay, so we're going to screw and use the top cushion. Yeah? And get the... Top cushion? Yeah, use this top cushion, so we screw back and get the cue ball to hit. Because when we use the top cushion, it's easier to control the distance than... See, this one, we could just screw back to here without the cushion. Yeah. But if you use the cushion, it's much easier to control the distance. Okay? So everything, and with you, the thing to remember is at the top of the backswing, you pause and then accelerate, yeah? Oh, look at this. Good shot. Play again or one more? One more. Perfect. So this time, because she did the first one so good, I'm going to ask her to screw back, but to not use the cushion. So she has to just screw it back to control the distance. Okay, so this time you play the screw back, but don't use the cushion. Okay, so you want to just get the cue ball like somewhere here. Okay? Okay. Yeah, now you see how much harder it is to not use the cushion. Yeah. See, it's much harder. With the first time, it allows you to hit the ball a little harder and use the cushion, and you've got more room, okay? Want to try again without using the cushion? Yeah, but don't forget this time, at the top of the backswing, you still must pause. That time was a little quick, okay? Without using the cushion again. Don't forget the pause. There, Perfect. Well done. See? Right in the circle. Well done. And you see the difference that time was the first time she forgot when she cue, she come here and was a bit quick. That time she'd cue like this and then stop, then accelerate, and it's easier to control the distance. Well done.